News at Noon starts right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have to dodge a few showers today. We've had a few around San Antonio. Heavier rain off to the east around Howitzville and Cuero this afternoon. We're going to get you a full radar update. Also, some rain around Kerrville as well. We'll get you set on your forecast coming up.
We're not going to leave here until we've done everything that we need to do. If that's 10 days or 10 weeks or 10 months, we'll continue to stay with the people here in Texas as long as we're needed.
Well, thank you for joining us here this afternoon, and we are marking 1 month since the devastating floods in the Hill Country. And our Ernie Zuniga is standing by live in Kerrville. However, let's start off with our Courtney Friedman, who is field anchoring from Kerrville.
Yeah, thanks so much, Steph. On this 1 month mark from the devastating floods, the rain has been pouring down all around us in Kerrville, signifying 1 month of devastation and heartbreak. 1 month of hard work down on the river by so many volunteers, and 1 month of caring, loving, and helping. 1 month ago on July 4th, chaos hit the Hill Country, where rivers like the Guadalupe River behind me flooded and took out houses and people's livelihoods and their lives. More than 100 people lost their lives, including 37 at Camp Mystic, and 2 people still remain missing today. People still searching hard for them. So many people across the country and the world have poured in with their love and care for this beautiful community. KSAT has been here since day one. Me and my photographer who's behind the camera, Adam Barraza, were here in Kerrville on July 4th as the river was still raging. And we will continue to be here. That's a promise that KSAT made, and we plan to keep, especially here on the 1 month mark of this tragedy. And we will be telling these stories throughout the day and the evening live from the Hill Country. One thing we want to do is not just to memorialize and honor those who are lost, but also to shine a spotlight on those who are the helpers. Of course, those are the brave men and women digging through debris and rescuing people and making recovery efforts on the river, but also people who are doing so in a different way. Right around the corner from where we're standing in Kerrville, there is a boutique that is putting flood survivors first.
Dreamy dresses and handmade pieces curated at a boutique in Kerrville.
People love Celia B, this designer. She's from Spain.
But this shop is not for the general public, and the clothes are not for sale.
The past month has been pretty crazy.
Heidi Kachera is the manager at CJ Copeland's. Next to its main store is usually a discount section, but now it's transformed into a space for flood survivors to shop for free.
The owner, Courtney McDonald, she had the idea to reach out to some of our vendors and ask them if they'd be interested in sending donations. She got a really good response back.
And an amazing response from the survivors themselves.
A lot of people lost everything, and you don't have to lose everything to shop here. Like, if you were affected in any way, then you can come shop. And we've had people try to find things similar to a dress that they had.
As far as donations go, this selection is elevated.
This dress is $195. It's a women-owned brand. They're awesome. This brand is Lafori. Their dresses are all in the $500-600.
And it's not just women's clothes. Come over here to the back of the store where there are babies' clothes, and this section here is for boys, and there's even donations for men that have come in by the dozens, all for free.
It gives people autonomy to kind of pick what they want into things that might actually be their style, and to just have some normalcy, to just be able to have the shopping experience.
And right now, normalcy, comfort, and a little sparkle is what this community needs.
Just so many ways to help. This devastation along the Guadalupe River stretches for miles and miles, and there are people who have stayed on the river to make sure they're helping where the help is needed. Our Ernie Zuniga spent the morning and joins us live now from Waterfront Drive in Kerrville, where, Ernie, we know there was so much devastation, and there has been a donation site set up where a house once stood.
Courtney, good afternoon to you. It was a bit of a full circle moment this morning where we decided, my photographer, Alex Gomez, and I decided to return to Waterfront Drive, where we began on Monday, July 6th, right after the flooding started. And no doubt you know that at least on that part of the street, there was a series of 3 concrete slabs, a mobile home that was lost. There was a home owned by the Romero family where 3 of their 4 family members were lost. And then next to that, the Walden house, where Scott Walden and his wife were forced to cling to a crepe myrtle as they were being swept away in the flood. Thankfully, they were able to survive. So it was a bit surreal to be back there, but we were getting kind of acclimated to what had changed and also what had not changed. There was still a vehicle there covered in soot and leaves from a month ago, but then there was also something new, a memorial set up for the Romero family and the 3 lives lost there. And right next to that, as you mentioned, a donation station, a simple cart table set up with rows of bars of soap and hand sanitizer and bleach and cleaners and those kinds of things. And we just happened to happen upon Regina Guevara, who is the self-proclaimed volunteer coordinator, if you will. She's been taking on the task of kind of monitoring that site and making sure that looters don't come and those kinds of things. And we got to talking about just the 1 month anniversary, the 1 month mark, I should say, the 1 month mark of this tragedy, and just reminiscing on the weight of this, the heaviness of it, and how this community is dealing 1 month later. And here's a little bit of our conversation.
I think yesterday we kind of hit a wall with feeling like people are leaving, and
you mean like help?
Yeah, the help's leaving. People think that people don't need help. We need more volunteers. I mean, we need volunteers to know that there's houses that are still in stages of, decay. There's houses that are still with mold growing in them that need remediation.
And perhaps you could detect a little shake in her voice. I think she was trying to hold back some tears right there, and we spoke a little bit more after that, just to, again, how she's doing and to remind her to take care of herself, right? She's taking care of others, but to remember to take care of herself. We've been talking to flood survivors and different people all day long, and I'll step aside just to show you as we close here. We're at Louise Hayes Park right now, and there is still a state trooper stationed down there. 1 month later, this park is still inaccessible to people, and it's probably not difficult to see why. Piles of asphalt and logs and debris still littered all over the park, and so it will take some time. And as you know, Courtney, the rain just stopped here a short time ago, and while we were grabbing food a little while ago, our phones went off with a weather alert, and immediately you saw one woman turn. Is that weather? I mean, I think that's still very fresh, and those emotions are still very raw 1 month later here in Kerrville.
Yeah, we got that alert too, Ernie, and that's a really good point to make. Just like that volunteer was saying, it's not just the physical recovery, it's going to be a huge emotional recovery too. But when we think about the types of recovery, it's going to be monetary as well. Yeah, Kerr County residents are still wondering how much this huge recovery is going to cost them. Now, we know the budget workshop is already revealing some of those numbers, and it's interesting. We are going to be following those, and that's why our Patty Santos was at a very special Kerr County meeting this morning.
Look, we know that budget planning is very complex and it's very time consuming. It's very hectic for any municipality, whether that's the city or county. Now, add to that here in this county, a historic disaster. That is why Kerr County commissioners are now considering adding a lot more to their budget next year, including $400,000 on cost for autopsies, about $10 million on road repairs, which is what FEMA is estimating, and they're looking at a $2 million lost in revenue from taxes on properties that will not be collected. As a result of the disaster, they're also considering adding more positions to the sheriff's department. This is all still in the works, but they're looking at $71 million in total expenses with a $12.5 million deficit. Important to note here, they are not considering a tax rate increase, but they are considering giving county employees a salary increase. The question is, where is that money going to come from? The first draft of this budget is going to be submitted by the end of the day on Friday. And there's going to be a series of meetings that the public can attend, including one on August 13th and August 25th. And as soon as that draft budget is submitted, we're going to take a look at it and we're going to break it down for you. Reporting from Kerr County, I'm Patty Santos.
All right, thanks so much, Patty. And we know that is going to be a long road too, and we will be following that as those meetings continue and information comes out of that. Of course, also following the physical recovery down here at the river. Justin, Ernie had mentioned that there was a little bit of anxiety. It was pouring down rain and so windy when we got here and we're setting up our live shot here for the show. And when that alert came into our phone saying there could be a bunch of rain and the river might rise a little bit, anyone who is working at the river, please back up. And that's a really big alert to be getting because, you know, there's so much anxiety still surrounding this area, Justin.
No doubt about it. And I understand being cautious. I will tell you, the way things were set up today, there was really no big threat for flooding, but you can certainly understand why people would be on edge. And we had some pretty heavy rain over the weekend, too. Good news here, the rain has shifted out of Kerrville now. And we're watching this heavier line of rain really work its way down towards the coast. We just did not get much here in San Antonio, and that's the way it goes sometimes. That outflow boundary came through. It just didn't kick up much where we are. We are getting some heavier storms, though, out towards Howitzville, and those continue to work off to the south for the most part, almost due south here. And we have picked up probably a quick half an inch there in Howitzville. Gonzales, you've been just on the edge of things. Cuero, you're going to get a couple of downpours there, but the heavy stuff is just east of you. And then that one little batch of rain that came through Kerrville, now moving south towards Bandera and really starting to fall apart. And we just don't have much here around San Antonio. It's not to say we couldn't see a few more pop-ups. There's still some energy up to our north, but the odds are, I think, starting to come down a little bit. We'll leave it at 30%, and then we'll drop it to 20% as we get into the late afternoon hours. Temperature's going to be a little tricky today. Cloud cover's helping to keep those numbers down, thankfully. Right now we're going to go with a high of 97, so that's cooler than what we've seen last couple days. But buckle up because it's about to get really hot for the rest of the week. We'll look at that forecast for you here in just a couple minutes.
Thank you, Justin. Well, looking ahead to tomorrow, officials from Bexar County, the City of San Antonio, and the San Antonio River Authority will announce a major investment to upgrade the region's flood warning system. So the next-gen flood warning system will use advanced technology, infrastructure upgrades, and public education to boost flood resilience. This plan builds on over $2 billion in flood mitigation projects since 2002 and includes the new Predictive Flood Model 3.0, a state-of-the-art data-driven warning system. The announcement is scheduled immediately after Commissioner's Court at the Bexar County Courthouse. Well, still healing from the Guadalupe floods, a local artist from Hunt is bringing hope with her paintings, how she's spreading light during these dark times. As flood recovery continues, residents in Ingram are worried about what the future holds for their community. Our Donald Karp will tell us what's at stake and what's next. And looking out there with live cam here in the downtown area, we're heading up to 86 degrees. We may not hit the triple digits today, but we'll definitely hit them tomorrow and the rest of the week. We'll be right back. Well, as residents continue to rebuild after the floods, many have concerns about how the event impacted the local environment, specifically when it comes to Ingram Lake, where they're worried about the future of their community if it doesn't change. Our Devin Karp is in Ingram.
Standing right here next to Ingram Lake and the Guadalupe River, 1 month after the deadly July 4th flooding, you can still see all the debris that is left over here. There's lots of trees, overbrush, there's metal, there's pieces of road, there's concrete, and it has some neighbors in the area worried because if this is what you can see above the water, now they're worried about what's below it. I was able to speak with some neighbors who live off of Ingram Lake who tell me that they've been seeing bubbles pop up with an oily sheen. They're concerned about the cars, the RVs that they've been told are under the lake here by some of the first responders going on that diving team. And that's a really big deal for them, not only for the people who live here, but they say for all of the people out of town who come to use the lake recreationally. They say that is a big source of revenue for the service industry based areas here of Ingram and Kerrville. So they want to make sure that county officials and local government is able to drain the lake. In the Kerr County Commissioners Court meetings, the Judge Rob Kelly, along with some of the other commissioners, have expressed interest in draining the lake in the past month, earlier in July. They said there was a plan to do so, but they warned that it was going to be a long and costly effort, requiring a lot of working together with regulatory agencies to get the permission needed to drain the lake behind here, as well as the fact that there are endangered mussels that live along the Guadalupe River. Those neighbors are going to be meeting with local businesses, they tell me, in order to discuss what's going on with Ingram Lake and try to get answers from the local government. We've been asking some of those questions as well and are waiting to hear back. For now, I'm Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Devin, thank you. We're going to have continued coverage of the aftermath of the Hill Country floods throughout the newscast. And here locally, 86 degrees, already climbing those temperatures, right?
But it's cloudy, and that's going to help us. That's going to help us. The pollen count is in. Molds 1,530 and high. That's about where they were yesterday. And the aquifer is down 0.6 of a foot to 631.3. We'll have another check of that radar for you coming up.
I know Courtney was talking about it earlier in the newscast, some of the rain that they had in the Kerrville area.
There was some, and it was light to moderate for a little bit, but thankfully no flooding there, and that has moved through. We just did not get lucky here in San Antonio. That outflow boundary came through, stirred up a couple showers, but nothing significant here in town. The heavy rain is off to the east, so let's get right into the authority radar here, and you can see where the rain is right now. Mainly around the Victoria area. We mentioned Hallettsville. That's a place that's gotten some pretty good rain here within the last hour or so, and a lot of this is working towards the coast. So this was all activity that started way up in North Texas and traveled a pretty good distance down here to South Texas. Now, one thing it is doing, I know we didn't get rain, but it is giving us a blanket of cloud cover, and that's going to help us with temperatures today. That's a little batch of rain there that moved through Kerrville, and it is now well south of town and continuing to move south and kind of weaken as it does. So that'll move into parts of northwestern Medina County. Again, the really heavy stuff has been out here around Hallettsville. You're still getting rain at this hour, and the good rain moving down towards Edna, Victoria, Cuero, and Yorktown. And what we can do here is put on the 24-hour rain. Notice San Antonio didn't get any, but if you're out around Hallettsville, maybe you picked up close to an inch of rain, which sounds great. We will take it. There is still a chance that we could get a few more isolated showers and storms today, just based on the flow. We have a ridge of high pressure off to the west in the upper levels. Of course, we get the clockwise spin around this, and this is what is driving those disturbances, or the disturbance we saw this morning, all the way from parts of Oklahoma down into Texas and the Texas coast today. Again, there's still a little bit of energy there back behind it, so in theory, we could get one or two more isolated storms. We shall see. I'm going to keep a small chance in there, but at the very least, we've got the clouds, and that helps a lot because it has been so hot as of late. Right now, we're at 86. You see Kerrville, that is rain-cooled air, 78 there, 90 in Hondo, 92 Pleasanton, 93 in Cotulla. Those areas have not been hit with the clouds yet, and right as we speak, you got a big jump in temperatures there, and those places will probably still reach 100 today. I don't know that we get there here in San Antonio, again, which is not a bad thing. Heat index right now, it does feel like 95, awful humid, and you got heat index 100 plus in many spots. So we'll keep in a 20 to 30% chance of rain next few hours, and then bring that down as we get into this evening. Anything that does develop will die down with the loss of daytime heating. And I still think we make it into the 90s today, mid 90s, maybe upper 90s. We've had 9 days so far this year, 100 or above, including the last 5, but we'll probably end that streak today and then pick back up tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, because the rest of this week does look awful hot. It's just today's kind of our 1 day of reprieve. Some triple digits and quiet weather. That is really what I think we're looking at rest of the work week and into the weekend. Otherwise, again, maybe a shower or storm the rest of this afternoon, and we'll continue to get some clouds, which helps us out just a little bit, Steph, keeping us from those triple digits. All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the news at noon. As we mark this difficult day, 1 month since the deadly July 4th floods, we are putting focus on the people who have lost so much. A lot of us here at KSAT have made connections with survivors and have kept up with them. One of those that I met is a special woman from Hunt who happened to be on vacation the day of the flood. She returned to find she had lost 3 neighbors. 3 houses on her property, and her belongings had been swept away, including her precious scrapbooks and photo albums. Well, miraculously, Pam Nelson Hart's friend saw the album on ABC News. She immediately called KSAT. We were able to connect her with ABC, and they helped her find that album.
2 miles down the river.
I can't believe that.
I'm 2 miles from the Hunt store, and that's about where it was found.
They just carried it so fast. The fact that these all didn't fall out is amazing. Coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, the full story of what's inside those treasured albums and how finding them has helped Pam's grieving process. She is one of so many people who has suffered loss. But what we've also found out here reporting in the Hill Country is that with the help of others, they are finding so much gratitude as well. We'll be right back.
Well, welcome back to the news at noon, and thank you for joining us a month after those devastating floods tore through the Hill Country. And of course, we've been having team coverage all day long. And right now, let's go ahead and check back with our Courtney Friedman.
Yeah, luckily this rain behind me has subsided. Me, Ernie, and Justin have been talking about this. So that's a little bit of light in this situation, because this is a very, very difficult day for communities across the Hill Country, especially the people who have lost so much. But with this loss is hope. And so a local artist from Hunt is doing what she can to spread a little bit of light in these very dark times. She is helping in her own way by painting messages of hope.
Nobody could even ever imagine painting bows for a memorial for a precious camp, you know, for precious girls. I would have never imagined that in the middle of July.
Business owners usually call Callie Stetler to paint their windows during the holidays. However, this work is different.
So all the green bows around town and stuff, you know, those are a reminder to pray for the families.
Since the floods on the 4th of July ripped through so many communities,
Fixing to do some words.
Callie has been painting messages of hope on the windows of local businesses.
Rooted in faith, rebuilt in strength. People are just wanting to do anything to spread hope and just a little bit of light, just a little bit of goodness right now. I really think it matters. Hi! It's good to see you. We're putting scripture all over the place.
She's painted windows in Ingram and here in Kerrville.
Business here has just been really intentional about what they're putting on the windows, which has been so great. My job is easy. When I show up, they're like, we want green bows, and we want it to say, when the river rises, so do we.
And this entire area is Callie's community and home. She lives just 9 miles from Camp Mystic.
They are wonderful people and friends that own that camp, and we're just keeping them in our prayers. I can hardly even think or put into words how heartbroken I am about it.
It can take a couple of hours for Callie to complete each window, but she says it is a blessing that she can help in some way.
We just keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing what we can.
Thank you so much, Steph, for that beautiful story. I have seen those windows painted every day that I've been out here, and so she is doing a beautiful job. But it's not just the Kerrville area, Hunt, Ingram, even though it was so hard hit, there are other places in this stretch of devastation that have been impacted. And our Ernie Zuniga spent the morning talking to several Center Point businesses on the help that they're getting there.
The idea of this was to get business owners together, small business owners from this community who have received some financial help from Lift Fund, which is a San Antonio-based organization that helps to fund nonprofits and small businesses, and see how they're doing 1 month later. How is that money being used? How are they feeling? Morale, those kinds of things. You were telling us, you're telling me a little while ago, Melanie, the cabins look great. We're sitting up high above the river here right now. But one thing is the fact that you've had so many cancellations going into 2026 that's really hurting you financially.
Yes, exactly. The Lift Fund is helping quite a bit just because that first initial wave of, oh my gosh, what have I lost? It was a lot of things, and we always budgeted for that. We knew anything below the cabins could potentially float away. What we didn't think about was everyone who might cancel if there was a flood. So we probably had 38 reservations canceled. I think I gave away, or I refunded $16,000 worth of refunds just for first night stays. And people canceled through 2026 because of the fear. But you can see we've got trees. It's beautiful. It's still a nice place to come. And part of the recovery process, when we say we need support, what we really need is people to come back to Center Point. Beth has a beautiful place that has live music. People go and play games. It's like our center point of gathering for community. And without places like hers and Mosties, we can't survive. So our community really needs to come together, and we're hoping that by this news release we will show people how wonderful it is and that we're up and running. And as far as the Guadalupe River, I think Center Point has survived great, and all the first responders that have come have said, oh my gosh, I've never been treated so good, and everything's getting cleaned up so fast and recovering because we really pulled together and had a plan. In the first 2 weeks we got it done, so we're up and running.
I'm talking about weather. Yeah, and here in the Kerrville area, we've talked about it being rainy. Well, the sun has come out, and I love that it's coming out as we're talking about the people getting help and giving help. And Justin, we know that alert came out because they wanted people to back up from the river when that heavy rain was moving through, but clearly that was just out of precaution, like you said before. Yep. We know that, they are very anxious about that over here. So I know that we're going to take a look at live cam in San Antonio, and hopefully you're seeing the same amount of sun there, because I know that there's some spotty chances all over this region.
Yeah, you're right, Courtney. And you're spot on about that, is that they are using an abundance of caution, and you can't blame them. We got to be so safe, especially with so many responders still cleaning up along the river. And they had that this weekend where we had some heavier storms, and they put out an alert. And so they just want to make sure people are prepared if the river rises even just a little bit. Speaking of what Courtney was talking about with the live cam, yeah, we have some spotty showers out there. Not a lot around San Antonio, but the cloud cover at any rate has really helped us with temperatures. We're forecasting 97 today, and right now we're sitting at 86. But this is a little bit better than what we originally were thinking. Triple digits were going to be a good bet today if we didn't get that outflow boundary through. But it came through, and again, we have some clouds, especially across the eastern and northeastern portion of our viewing area. Now, if you're west and southwest, it's still going to be very hot today, 105 potentially in Carrizo Springs. And here's the cloud cover I was speaking of. This is that outflow boundary that came through with the showers and storms, most of them off to our east. There still are a few showers upstream, so we'll see if some of this can work its way down. And as long as we continue to get at least a little bit of cloud cover, again, that is going to help. Today only, though, because by the time we get into tomorrow, we're back into the triple digits and we're back above average. And, this is climatologically the hottest time of the year. It's going to turn out that way as we get throughout the first week of August. A lot of triple digits in that forecast.
We'll get some cloud cover maybe next week. Thank you, Justin. Well, a month after meeting Wayne Donaghy in Kerrville, we are checking in to see how his FEMA assistance and rebuilding efforts are going. Stay with us here to hear his story. And 2 men are now facing theft charges in a deadly crash that happened last month. We're going to tell you who they are and what led to their arrest. And a quick look out there with a live cam. A little earlier, we saw a lot of cloud cover. You can see that clearing, and that means it's going to get warmer this afternoon. Be prepared. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is 12:40. Well, 2 men are now facing theft charges in connection to the I-35 and Casson Road crash from last month that killed 5 people. 21-year-old Eric Bettis and 18-year-old Matthew Espinosa. Now, the 2 were arrested this past weekend, and they were accused of driving a stolen Camaro that caused the crash. Now, a crash report obtained by KSAT states that the stolen Camaro attempted to weave between a truck and a small bus on the highway before that collision. Now, records show that both suspects already posted bond, and right now it's not known more criminal charges are to be expected. looking out there with live cam, and yes, we are heating up, but those clouds are just lingering. I think they're trying to do us a favor before we hit the triple digits for the rest of the week.
Boy, I'll take it. We missed out on the rain, which was unfortunate, but at least there's cloud cover, and that does help us out some. We're also watching the tropics. You know, this is a time of year where we can get some help from the tropics and maybe some rain. There's nothing headed towards Texas, but we do have an active pattern shaping up here in the Atlantic. I'll show you where everything's headed coming up.
1 month ago, we met Wayne Donaghy at the Baptist Church in Kerrville, where he was first in line to get FEMA assistance. Well, our Ernie Zuniga checked in to see how he's rebuilding and what kind of help he has received along the way.
Catching up with so many of the great people in the Hill Country who we caught up with, whose stories we shared a month ago, including Wayne Donaghy, who I had the chance to meet, the pleasure to meet, outside, I believe it was the Baptist Church in Kerrville. You were getting ready to go in for the FEMA Assistance Center. You were the very first person in line. You were there very early with your dog. And I wonder now, a month later, as you continue to rebuild your house, what has that process been like with FEMA, and how much help have you received?
Quite a bit of help from FEMA. All the different organizations in town, very helpful. Yeah, and they were quick to respond. And what was your other question?
No, just what the process has been like. And I know a month ago, my colleague Sarah Costa was here in this house with you, kind of walking around. I wonder, the Wayne Donaghy back then compared to where you are right now, how different is it?
I was an emotional wreck for sure at the time. Still am to some degree, but it gets better every day. Learn to let go. God said start over, so that's what we're doing. And He's providing. God is providing every step of the way.
You said that the last time we talked.
Yep. All I have to do is step. His warm embrace is there.
That's a lot of what we heard too. It's incredible to see the faith people have after they've lost so much, but that faith is widespread. The gratitude is widespread. What we're lucky today, since there are still recovery efforts happening, is that rain is not widespread and consistent. I know I've talked about it a couple times, Justin, but it's just going to be isolated showers in this area today, right?
You're absolutely correct, Courtney. And we saw that kind of a little batch of showers come through Kerrville, and we may see a couple more, but I think the worst of it is kind of over as far as rain today. That first batch is going to be the strongest one. And we'll look at the radar here in just a second. Satellite picture, though, out in the Atlantic. I got to mention this because it is becoming quite active out there. You see this little area of thunderstorm activity. That is Dexter, which will move off to the north and east harmlessly, not expecting to make landfall and weaken as it does. There's an area off the coast of the Carolinas and Florida, Georgia, that the Hurricane Center is watching, about a 30% chance of development there. And then a wave that's going to be coming off Africa has about a 50% chance of development as it moves through the Atlantic. Now, this would be one to watch, although by all intents and purposes, we think that this will probably start to curve north. And if that happens, it typically doesn't affect the United States. But, you know, we don't even have a system yet. So let's watch it. We got plenty of time to do so. Another system here along the coast of Mexico, which is showing some promising development. And then we have Tropical Depression 8 out in the Pacific. All of this to say the tropics, right on schedule, are starting to heat up. And August tends to be a busy month in both basins. And we will watch what happens next. If we get another named storm, of course, we just had Dexter. If we get another named storm in the Atlantic, it would be Aaron, followed by Fernand and Gabriel, if you were curious. And it is still forecast to be an above average season. Okay, now let's take a look at what's going on as far as the showers and storms here around the area. Still, the heaviest stuff is down around Victoria, where they've had some wind damage. Some reports down there of trees down and some pretty heavy rain in spots. We just did not see that here. We had just a couple of isolated storms in San Antonio, and then, of course, Courtney talked about some of those showers that worked their way through Kerrville. The really heavy stuff is going to continue to work down towards the coast. Now, I will tell you, there's an outflow boundary right there. We can see it here, and I'll put it into motion for you. And sometimes with these outflow boundaries, you can get some development. So we'll see what happens as this moves towards San Antonio. We still have flow out of the north, so it's still a situation where we could get some pop-ups. And I do think that is worth watching. And I showed you earlier around Hallettsville, we picked up some decent rainfall. This is a 24-hour rainfall, and where you see some of those green colors, I'm talking over an inch in some cases there out in Lavaca County. Cuero, you were just on the edge of it, but really, for the most part, well east of San Antonio. We just didn't get the rain we had hoped for along that outflow boundary. 86 right now in town, 90 in Hondo, 99 in Carrizo Springs. So really heating up down to the south and west, where they have not had cloud cover. And the clouds are helping us some, but I still think we make it into the 90s today. We'll keep in a small chance for some isolated showers and storms. 95 at 6 o'clock, 93 at 7 p.m., and then down into the mid-80s by 11 o'clock. After today, rain chances go away. The reason we're getting rain today is because our ridge of high pressure is off to the west. We got flow out of the north, throw some disturbances in our direction. But what happens next few days is high pressure begins to build east, and that means heat. And it means lack of rain. 100 Tuesday, 100 Wednesday, 101 Thursday. Lots of triple digits going through the weekend. We'll be right back.
Well, we now know the name of a motorcyclist who died after crashing into an SUV. So this happened on July 31st on San Antonio's far west side. So 23-year-old Ian Garcia was killed when a driver in an SUV tried to make a left turn, and Garcia hit the front of that vehicle. He was then thrown from his bike and died at the scene. The SUV's driver and passenger had minor injuries, and witnesses said that speeding may have played a role here. However, police are still investigating and no charges have been filed. Well, Texas Democrats have made a dramatic move leaving the state and heading to Illinois. They're hoping this will block a vote on new congressional maps pushed by Republicans and backed by President Donald Trump. So the redrawn districts could help the GOP gain more state house seats in the 2026 elections. By walking out, Democrats are denying the legislature the quorum needed to vote. It's a high-stakes strategy with potential legal and financial consequences. This is not the first time that lawmakers have used this tactic to stall redistricting efforts. Democratic State Representative Trey Martinez-Fishers, Ray Lopez, and Diego Bernal, who all represent San Antonio, are among the legislators in Chicago.
We're doing mid-decade redistricting because they know that they're probably going to lose a lot of seats in 2026. And President Trump doesn't want to lose the Republican advantage he has in Congress. So he's trying to rig the game at halftime in order to pick up seats. And this is the guy who has betrayed the middle class. He's the guy who's snatching our neighbors off the street.
Yes. And our Garrett Berger will be following the story in the later newscast. Well, Governor Greg Abbott sent a statement in response to Democrats leaving. It says in part, real Texans do not run from a fight, but that's exactly what most of the Texas House Democrats just did, rather than doing their job and voting on urgent legislation affecting the lives of all Texans. This truancy ends now. The derelict Democrat House members must return to Texas and be in attendance when the House reconvenes at 3 p.m. on Monday, August 4th, 2025. Now, for any member who fails to do so, I will invoke Texas Attorney General Opinion number KP0382 to remove the missing Democrats from membership in the Texas House, end quote.
Welcome back to our coverage here on the news at noon of the 1 month mark since the deadly July 4th floods. You've heard a lot of stories today about loss, but also about hope. And we're here in the heart of Kerrville, and it just goes to show what our presence means. There have been people filtering in to this gazebo, which is behind the Arcadia Theater right here on the Guadalupe River with the devastation behind me. A lot of people still just coming to look to see what it looks like, but a lot of people coming here to thank us for our coverage and also tell us their stories. There's so much communication here about what's been going on. Everyone has a story to tell. And so in these commercial breaks, we have folks coming over to tell us their story, their connection to this, and just their gratitude that KSAT has been here since the beginning. I actually have someone from the Cajun Navy that we're going to be speaking to after this who has been in the river helping recover people, helping rescue people since the very beginning. And it's these stories that we need to continue to tell. Even though it's been 1 month, there are so many more stories to tell. And KSAT is going to stay on top of this, especially throughout this day on this 1 month mark. We have Myra Arthur, who's going to be out here field anchoring at 5 and 6. And as I said, my story on that lost photo album that you're going to want to see is running at 6 o'clock. We'll be out here in those evening shows as well, and lots of other reporters. But it's not just today on these big marked dates. It's every day that we want to be telling these stories. So thank you for keeping up with us. Thank you for your kind words, and we'll continue to be out here. But for now, Justin, we're going to toss it back to you because I know that there are some isolated showers that you're tracking today.
Courtney, thank you very much. And as we look at the authority radar, you can see where those storms are. They're now pushing towards the coast and away and out of our area, but there are some outflow boundaries floating around out there, so it's possible we could get a few more isolated showers and storms today.
All right. Thank you, Justin, and thanks for joining us today. And we'll have continued coverage of the Kerr County area in 5 at 6.